Ambassador Vel had lived for 300 years. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die and new worlds form. But he had never believed in monsters. The council chamber of Harmony 7 was full that day. Representatives from 42 species sat in their floating chairs, their forms ranging from tall and thin to short and round. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all. They had gathered to discuss a small matter, a broken probe that had sent strange signals from a distant star system. The probe malfunctioned, Vel said, his blue skin shimmering under the lights. There was nothing more to discuss. But historian Thren would not let the matter rest. The old creature floated to the center of the chamber, his many eyes blinking slowly. He carried ancient books in his tentacles, books so old that no one remembered who had written them. "I have studied our oldest records," Thren said. His voice was soft, but everyone listened. The signals came from the Sol system, the third planet from its yellow sun. A ripple of nervous laughter spread through the chamber. Vel shook his head. "Sol 3 is a death world," he said. "Nothing lives there. Nothing can live there." Thren opened one of his books. The pages were yellow and cracked with age. "Our ancestors visited that system 10,000 years ago," he said. "They found a planet of nightmares. The temperature swings from burning hot to freezing cold. The air is filled with a corrosive gas called oxygen. The ground shakes and splits open without warning. Water falls from the sky. Fire burns across the land. And the planet is home to millions of creatures that exist only to kill and eat each other." The representatives shifted in their seats. They all knew about death worlds, planets so hostile that evolution became a war. Most death worlds produced only mindless beasts. The idea that intelligent life could emerge from such a place was absurd. "Our ancestors also found something else," Thren continued. "They found a species. A young species, still primitive, but already showing signs of impossible development." He turned the page and held up an ancient drawing. It showed a creature standing on two legs. It had no claws, no fangs, no armor, no venom. It looked weak and soft and helpless. "They called them Terrans," Thren said, "and they left warnings for all future generations. They said, if you ever meet these creatures, run. Do not fight them. Do not try to understand them. Just run." Vel laughed out loud. "You expect us to believe that this hairless thing is dangerous? Look at it. It has no natural weapons. Any predator on any world could kill it in seconds." Thren closed the book slowly. "That is exactly what makes them dangerous, Ambassador. They have no claws, so they made claws from stone and metal. They have no fangs, so they created weapons that kill from a distance. They have no armor, so they learned to take the skin of other animals and wear it as protection. They have no venom, so they extracted poison from plants and used it against their enemies." The chamber grew quiet. "They are persistence hunters," Thren said. "They cannot run fast, but they never stop running. They chase their prey for days until it collapses from exhaustion. They do not need to be faster or stronger. They simply need to be more stubborn." Vel felt a small chill run through his body, but he pushed it away. "These are just old stories. Myths to scare children. There is no proof that Terrans still exist or that they ever existed at all." "The probe found proof," Thren said. "Before it went silent, it detected artificial structures orbiting Sol 3. It detected radio signals in mathematical patterns. It detected satellites and space stations and ships." "Ships?" someone whispered. Thren nodded. "The Terrans did not die out, Ambassador. They survived their death world. They conquered it. And now they have reached the stars." Vel stood up from his chair. "Even if this is true, they are still primitive. They are millions of years behind us in development. What threat could they possibly pose? You do not understand, Thren said. They did not evolve like us. We developed on peaceful worlds with stable climates. We learned cooperation because survival was easy. But Terrans evolved through violence. Every moment of their existence was a fight for survival. Their planet tried to kill them every single day, and every single day they refused to die. The chamber was completely silent now. They drink poison for pleasure, Thren said. A substance called caffeine that would stop our hearts. They keep apex predators as companions and call them pets. They wage war against their own kind over ideas, not resources or territory, but abstract concepts they cannot even touch. And they have survived not one, not two, but 5 extinction-level events that should have wiped them from existence. Vel wanted to argue. He wanted to dismiss all of this as nonsense. But something in Thren's voice made him hesitate. What happened to the probe? He asked quietly. Thren turned to the main display screen. We received one final transmission before we lost contact. I think you should all see it. The screen flickered to life. It showed the black emptiness of space, filled with distant stars. And then something moved into frame. Something large. Something made of metal and glass and light. It was a ship, but not like any ship the Galactic Union had ever built. It was rough and angular and covered in scars. It looked like something that had been through a war and kept fighting anyway. And it was moving toward them. The representatives began to scream. Some ran for the doors. Others called for their fleets. Vel stood frozen, staring at the screen. How long until it arrives? He whispered. Thren's many eyes were fixed on the approaching ship. 3 days, he said. The monsters are coming, Ambassador. And we are not ready. Captain Yuna Park stood on the bridge of the Baekdu and looked at the stars. She had dreamed of this moment since she was a little girl growing up in Bizen. Back then, she would sit on the roof of her grandmother's house and wonder if anyone was out there, looking back at her. Now she knew the answer, and she was about to meet them. Captain, we are approaching the station, Lieutenant Taiho Kim said from his position at the tactical console. He was a tall man with serious eyes and a scar on his chin from his years as a Marine. I am picking up thousands of life signs. Dozens of different species. Yuna nodded. Dr. Cho, is the contact team ready? Dr. Hannah Cho looked up from her datapad. She was the ship's xenobiologist, and she had spent her entire career preparing for this day. Ready, Captain. We have gifts from Earth music recordings, artwork, seeds from our most beautiful plants, and cultural artifacts from every nation. Good, Yuna said. We come in peace. Let us make sure they know that. The Baekdu slowed as it approached Harmony 7. The station was enormous, a spinning wheel of metal and light, large enough to hold millions of beings. Yuna had never seen anything so beautiful. Open a channel, she said. All frequencies. The communications officer pressed a button. Yuna took a deep breath and spoke clearly. This is Captain Yuna Park of the Earth vessel Baekdu. We come from the Sol system from a planet called Earth. We mean you no harm. We are here to learn, to share, and to build friendship between our peoples. Please respond. Silence. Taiho frowned at his console. Captain, I am detecting a lot of movement on the station. Ships are launching. Defense systems are coming online. Are they preparing to attack? Yuna asked. No, Taiho said slowly. They are running. They are evacuating the station. Yuna did not understand. Running? From us? Before anyone could answer, the communications console exploded with noise. Hundreds of voices screamed over each other in languages the universal translator struggled to process. But certain words came through clearly. The Terrans are real. Death Worlders. Run! Everyone run! They will kill us all. Una stared at the screen in shock. What is happening? We have not done anything wrong. Dr. Cho's face had gone pale. Captain, I think they are afraid of us. Afraid? Una shook her head. That makes no sense. We are one ship with 42 people. They have an entire fleet. But the panic continued. Ships fled in every direction. Warning sirens blared across the station. Parents grabbed their children and ran for escape pods. Soldiers formed defensive lines, their weapons shaking in their hands. Una watched all of this with growing confusion. She had prepared for many outcomes: hostility, suspicion, curiosity, even indifference. But she had never prepared for terror. I do not understand, she said quietly. We are not monsters. We just wanted to say hello. Finally, one voice cut through the chaos. It was calm and steady, though Una could hear fear underneath it. Terran vessel, this is Ambassador Vel of the Galactic Union. Please state your intentions. Una stepped forward. Ambassador Vel, we mean you no harm. We have traveled a very long way to meet you. We bring gifts and good wishes from our world. There was a long pause. Then Vel spoke again. You want peace? Yes, Una said firmly. Only peace. Another pause. Una could imagine the ambassador trying to process this information. Everything he had been taught, every story he had heard, told him that humans were monsters. But here they were, offering friendship. I must ask you something, Vel said slowly, and I need you to answer honestly. Of course. How did you survive your world? Una blinked. It was not the question she had expected. I am sorry, I do not understand. Your planet, Vel said. Sultry. We know what kind of world it is. We have records. The temperature extremes alone should kill any species. The predators, the diseases, the natural disasters, your world is a death trap. No intelligent species should be able to evolve there. And yet here you are. Una looked at Taiho, then at Hana. They seemed just as confused as she was. We just lived, Una said. We adapted. We built shelter against the cold and heat. We created medicine to fight disease. We learned to predict natural disasters and prepare for them. It was not easy, but we survived. You say that like it is normal, Vel whispered. Is it not? Vel made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. Captain Park, most intelligent species evolve on paradise worlds. Gentle climates, abundant food, few predators. They develop slowly over millions of years because they do not need to fight for survival. Your species developed on a world that tried to kill you every moment of every day. And you did not just survive. You thrived. You conquered your world and reached the stars in a fraction of the time it took any other species. Una was quiet for a moment. She had never thought about it that way. Earth had always just been home. The storms and earthquakes and diseases were just part of life. You dealt with them and moved on. We did not know we were supposed to die, she said softly. So we just kept living. Vel let out a long breath. Captain Park, I must be honest with you. Many members of the Galactic Union want to destroy your ship before you can spread across the galaxy. They believe you are too dangerous to exist. Una felt Taiho tense beside her. His hand moved toward his weapon. But I do not think that is the right path, Vel continued. I think we should talk. Face to face. I want to understand you, Captain. I want to understand how creatures from a nightmare world can speak of peace. Una smiled for the first time since arriving. I would like that very much, Ambassador. I promise you will not regret giving us a chance. I hope you are right, Val said. Because if you are wrong, it will not just be your species that pays the price. It will be the entire galaxy. The channel closed. Una turned to her crew. Well, she said, that was not exactly the welcome I was hoping for. Taiho crossed his arms. They think we are monsters. Then we will show them we are not, Una said. We will show them what humans really are. Prepare the shuttle. We are going to meet our new friends. As she walked toward the hangar, Una could not shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger than first contact. The galaxy was afraid of humans, and she was about to show them that their fear was both wrong and completely justified. The diplomatic talks lasted for 2 weeks. Every day, Captain Una Park sat across from Ambassador Vel and representatives from a dozen species. Every day, she answered the same questions. Every day, she tried to prove that humans were not the monsters of their legends, but not everyone was convinced. Warlord Keth of the Draven hegemony stood nearly 7 feet tall. His body was covered in thick scales the color of dried blood. His eyes were yellow and cold, and when he smiled, he showed rows of razor-sharp teeth. He had conquered 20 worlds in his lifetime. He had never known defeat, and he did not believe in peaceful humans. Words mean nothing, Keth growled during one of the sessions. Anyone can speak of peace. I want proof. I want to see what these Terrans can really do. Vel raised his hands in a calming gesture. Warlord Keth, there is no need for. I challenge one of them to single combat, Keth interrupted. If they are truly dangerous, let them prove it. If they are weak, let them admit it. The chamber went quiet. Everyone looked at the human delegation. Una stood slowly. Warlord Keth, we did not come here to fight. We came to build friendship. Then you are cowards, Keth said simply. And cowards cannot be trusted. Lieutenant Taiho Kim stepped forward before Una could respond. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. I will fight, he said. Taiho, no, Una said sharply. But Taiho did not look at her. He kept his eyes on Keth. You want to know if humans are dangerous? I will show you. Keth's mouth stretched into a wide grin. Finally, a Terran with courage. I accept your challenge. The combat arena was ancient. It had been built 10,000 years ago for exactly this purpose, to settle disputes between species through battle instead of war. The floor was made of smooth stone, and the walls rose high into darkness. Thousands of seats surrounded the fighting space, and every single one was filled. Taiho stood in the center, wearing simple training clothes. He had no armor. He had no weapons. He had only his hands and his will. Keth entered from the opposite side. His natural armor gleamed under the lights. His claws were each as long as a knife. His tail swung behind him like a whip. You are brave, little human, Keth said. But bravery will not save you. Taiho did not respond. He simply raised his fists and waited. The signal sounded. Keth charged. He was faster than Taiho expected. The first blow caught him in the chest and sent him flying backward. Taiho hit the ground hard, feeling ribs crack. The crowd gasped. Ke laughed. Is that all? I expected more from a Death Worlder. Taiho pushed himself up. Blood dripped from his mouth. His chest screamed with pain. But he stood anyway. Keth charged again. This time, Taiho managed to dodge the first strike, but the second caught him across the face. His vision went white. He felt himself hit the ground again. In the stands, Una gripped her seat. Sergeant Minji sat beside her, her jaw clenched. He's going to die, Una whispered. Minji shook her head. No, watch. Taiho stood up again. His face was swelling. One eye was nearly shut. But he stood. Keth attacked a third time. And a fourth. And a fifth. Each time, Taiho went down. Each time, the crowd expected him to stay down. Each time, he got back up. Something began to change in the arena. The laughter stopped. The jeers turned to whispers. The aliens watched in growing confusion as the small, weak creature refused to accept defeat. "Why do you keep standing?" Keth demanded after the 10th blow. His voice was no longer mocking. "You cannot win. Your body is broken. Just surrender." Taiho spat blood onto the stone floor. "I am human," he said. "We do not surrender." He raised his fists again. Keth attacked once more. But this time, Taiho moved differently. He had been watching, learning. Every blow that Keth threw, Taiho had studied. He knew the patterns now. He knew the weaknesses. He dodged the first strike, ducked under the second. And when Keth's claw swung toward his head, Taiho stepped inside the blow and drove his elbow into the gap between two armor plates. Keth howled in pain and staggered back. The crowd went completely silent. Taiho pressed forward. His body was broken. He knew that. His ribs were cracked. His shoulder was dislocated. He could barely see, but his mind was clear, and his spirit would not break. He found another gap in the armor, then another. Each strike was precise. Each movement was calculated. He was not fighting with strength anymore. He was fighting with everything that made humans dangerous: the ability to adapt, to learn, to endure. Keth tried to counter, but Taiho was inside his guard now. The warlord who had conquered 20 worlds could not hit what he could not catch. And every time he missed, Taiho made him pay dot. When Taiho's shoulder popped out of its socket, he grabbed his own arm and slammed it against the ground to reset it. The aliens in the crowd screamed in horror. They had never seen anything like it, but Taiho just kept fighting. The battle lasted for nearly an hour. By the end, both fighters could barely stand. But Taiho was still moving, still attacking, still refusing to fall. Finally, Keth dropped to his knees. His yellow eyes were wide with something new. Something he had never felt before. Fear. Double quotes. How? He whispered. How are you still fighting? Your body should have given up long ago. Taiho stood over him, swaying on his feet. My body wanted to give up many times, he said. But I told it no. He extended his hand to Keth. For a long moment, the warlord just stared at it. Then, slowly, he reached up and took it. Taiho helped him stand. I understand now, Keth said quietly. Your planet did not fail to kill you. It trained you. Every storm, every predator, every disaster, they were all teachers. They made you into something that should not exist. He lowered himself to 1 knee before Taiho. I have fought for 200 years, Keth said. And I have never met a species like yours. You are not just dangerous. You are something new. Something the galaxy has never seen. The arena erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered. Some wept. Some simply sat in stunned silence. Yuna rushed to Taiho's side as he finally collapsed. You idiot, she said, tears in her eyes. You beautiful, stubborn idiot. Taiho managed a weak smile. Did I prove the point? Yuna looked at the thousands of faces watching them. For the first time since arriving, she did not see fear. She saw respect. Yes, she said softly. I think you did. 3 months had passed since first contact. Humanity was slowly becoming part of the Galactic Union. Trade agreements were signed. Cultural exchanges began. For the first time in history, humans walked among the stars, not as explorers, but as neighbors. Then the reports started coming in. Captain Unipark was reviewing supply requests when Ambassador Vel burst onto the Bekdu's bridge. His blue skin had turned pale, almost gray. His hands were shaking. "They are coming," he said. Una stood immediately. "Who is coming?" Vel's voice trembled. "The Vorn." The name meant nothing to Una, but she saw the reaction it caused in her crew. Dr. Hannah Cho dropped her datapad. Engineer Dongwu Shin stopped mid-sentence and went completely still. Even Ensign Nari Beek, who was always cheerful, looked like she had seen a ghost. "What are the Vorn?" Una asked. Vel sank into a chair. "The Vorn are not a species. They are a swarm. Billions of organisms controlled by a single mind. They move through the galaxy like a plague. They consume everything: resources, technology, life itself. Entire civilizations have been erased by them. Planets stripped down to bare rock. Species extinct in a matter of days. How do you fight them?" Vel looked at her with empty eyes. "We do not fight them, Captain. We run. We sacrifice colony after colony, world after world, and hope that they eventually move on. That is all we have ever done." Una felt anger rise in her chest. "You just let them destroy you?" "You do not understand," Vel said. "The Union species did not evolve to fight. We came from peaceful worlds. War is not in our nature. When the Vorn appear, our only instinct is to flee." Una walked to the main display and pulled up a star map. She could see the Vorn's path, a spreading darkness that swallowed system after system. And at the end of that path was Harmony 7. "How long until they reach us?" she asked. 2 weeks. Maybe less. Engineer Dongwu stepped forward. He was a small man with messy hair and oil-stained hands, but his mind was sharper than anyone Una had ever met. "How many ships in the Vorn swarm?" Vel closed his eyes. "Millions. Perhaps tens of millions. We do not know exactly. No one has ever survived long enough to count." "And how many ships does the Union have?" "Thousands. But our crews are already preparing to evacuate." Una turned to face Vel. Her expression was hard. "Ambassador, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Humans do not run." Vel stared at her. "Captain, you have 1 ship. 42 crew members. You cannot possibly fight the Vorn." "1 ship for now," Una said. "Ensign Beak, open a channel to Earth. Maximum priority. I want every ship that can fly to be here in 1 week." Nari's hands flew across her console. "Yes, Captain." "Captain Park," Vel said desperately. "This is suicide. The Vorn cannot be stopped. Every species that has tried to fight them has been destroyed." "With respect, Ambassador," Una said, "those species were not us." Over the next few days, Una organized the defense of Harmony 7. She studied every piece of information the Union had on the Vorn. She learned their patterns, their weaknesses, their methods. And she found something that gave her hope. The Vorn were controlled by a hive mind. Billions of organisms, but only one consciousness directing them all. That consciousness lived inside a massive command organism at the center of the swarm. Destroy the command organism, and the entire swarm would collapse. "It is impossible to reach," Vel said when she shared her plan. "The command organism is protected by millions of Vorn ships. No one has ever gotten close." "Then we will be the first," Una said simply. Dr. Hannah Cho had been studying Vorn biology for days without sleep. Her eyes were red and her hair was tangled, but her voice was steady. "I found something," she said during a briefing. "The Vorn share a neural frequency. It is how the hive mind controls them. If we can disrupt that frequency at the command organism, we might be able to break their connection permanently." "Can we build a device to do that?" Una asked. Dongwu nodded slowly. I can try, but someone would have to get inside the command organism to plant it. That is a one-way trip. The bridge was silent. Everyone understood what that meant. 1 week later, the human fleet arrived. They were not warships. Most of them were cargo haulers, transport vessels, civilian crafts. They had been rushed across the galaxy at speeds that should have torn them apart. Their crews were volunteers, soldiers, scientists, teachers, farmers. People who had never fired a weapon in their lives. Admiral Sung Han commanded the fleet from the Bridge of the Soul. He was an old man with white hair and calm eyes. He had fought in 3 wars on Earth and had never lost. 112 ships, he reported to Yuna. 3,000 crew members. Every human who could make the journey. Yuna looked at the ragtag fleet on her display. It was nothing compared to the Vorn swarm. By any logical measure, they were already dead. But she smiled anyway. It is enough, she said. Ambassador Vel watched the preparations with growing confusion. He saw humans welding extra armor onto their ships. He saw them loading weapons that the Union had never even considered building. He saw them laughing and joking as if they were not about to face extinction. Why are you doing this? He asked Yuna one night. You could run. You could go back to Earth and hide. The Vorn might never find your system. Yuna looked at him for a long moment. Ambassador, have you ever had something you loved so much that you would die for it? Vel considered the question. I do not think so. Humans have many things like that, Yuna said. Our families, our homes, our friends, our ideas. We do not fight because we think we will win. We fight because some things are worth dying for. Vel was quiet for a long time. You are a very strange species, he finally said. Yuna laughed. I know. The next morning, sensors detected the Vorn swarm entering the system. Millions of bioships darkened the stars like a living shadow. The sight was terrifying beyond words. The Union's fleets retreated to safe positions, preparing to flee. But the human fleet moved forward. Admiral Sung's voice came through every speaker on every ship. All hands, this is Admiral Han. The enemy is before us. They think we are weak because we are few. They think we will run because that is what every other species has done. But we are not every other species. We are human. And today, we teach the galaxy what that means. On the bridge of the Baekdu, Captain Yuna Park gripped her command chair. All ships, engage. The Battle of Harmony 7 had begun. The first wave of Vorn ships crashed into the human fleet like a tidal wave hitting a wall of stone. The Union observers, watching from a safe distance, expected the humans to be swept away in seconds. They were wrong. Human ships did not fight like the Union expected. They did not hold elegant formations or execute precise maneuvers. They fought like wild animals. They rammed into Vorn vessels and detonated on impact. They flew into the heart of enemy clusters and released everything they had. Pilots ejected from dying ships and used their escape pods as weapons, steering them directly into Vorn engines. Admiral Sung Han commanded from the Soul, his voice calm and steady even as chaos erupted around him. Wing 3, close that gap. Wing 7, provide cover fire. All ships, remember your training. Make every shot count. The Vorn had never faced anything like this. They had consumed hundreds of species, and every single one had run or surrendered. These creatures did neither. They died. Certainly humans died by the dozens, but for every human that fell, they took 10 Vorn ships with them, and they kept coming. On the Baekdu, Captain Yuna Park coordinated the assault on the command organism. The massive creature floated at the center of the swarm, protected by millions of bioships. Getting close was almost impossible. Getting inside was supposed to be completely impossible, but Yuna had a plan. Dongwu, is the device ready? She asked. Engineer Dongwu Shin held up a small metal box. Inside was the neural disruptor that Dr. Hana Cho had designed. It would break the hive mind's connection to the swarm if they could plant it inside the command organism. Ready, Dongwu said. But someone has to carry it in manually. The Vorn will detect any drone or missile before it gets close. I know, Yuna said. That is why I am going myself. Lieutenant Taiho Kim stepped forward immediately. His body was still healing from the fight with Keth, but his eyes were clear. Not alone, you are not. Sergeant Minji-Oh joined him. I go where the captain goes. Yuna looked at her crew, her family. She wanted to argue. She wanted to order them to stay safe. But she knew it would be pointless. They were human. They did not leave each other behind. Fine, she said. Taiho, Minji, you are with me. Everyone else, keep the path open for as long as you can. The boarding shuttle launched into the chaos of battle. Vorn ships swarmed around them like angry insects. Explosions filled the viewports. Warning alarms screamed constantly. Somehow, they made it through. The command organism was vast, a living ship, the size of a city. Its surface was covered in organic armor and pulsing veins. Yuna had never seen anything so alien, so completely different from anything on Earth. They forced their way inside through a wound in the creature's hull. The interior was dark and wet and filled with the sound of something breathing. They moved fast, following the neural signals toward the central brain. Vorn defenders came at them in waves. Minji held them back at a narrow passage, her weapon firing constantly. Go, she shouted. I will hold them here. Minji, Yuna started. I said go. Minji's voice left no room for argument. Make it count, Captain. Yuna and Taiho ran. Behind them, they could hear Minji fighting, still fighting, even when the sounds became desperate. She held that passage for 11 minutes. 11 minutes against endless enemies. 11 minutes that gave her captain the time she needed. Yuna and Taiho reached the central brain. It was a massive organic structure, pulsing with light and energy. This was the heart of the Vorn. This was what controlled the swarm. Taiho set the device against the neural tissue. 30 seconds to detonation. We need to leave. But they both knew there was no leaving. The way back was sealed. Vorn were closing in from every direction. The shuttle was destroyed. This had always been a one-way trip. Yuna looked at Taiho. I'm sorry I brought you here. Taiho shook his head. I chose to come, Captain. I would choose it again. They stood together, facing the approaching Vorn. 20 seconds. It was an honor, Yuna said. The honor was mine. 15 seconds. Yuna opened the communication channel. One last message to the fleet. To the Union, to anyone who would listen. This is Captain Yuna Park of the Baekdu. We have reached the command organism. The device is planted. In a few seconds, the Vorn swarm will fall. I want everyone to know something. 10 seconds. Humans are not the monsters you feared. We are not mindless destroyers or unstoppable killing machines. We are people. We love, we hope. We dream, and yes, we fight. But we fight because some things matter more than survival. We fight for our friends, for our families, for beings we have never even met. 5 seconds. We fight for you. The device detonated. Light erupted through the command organism. The neural cluster was destroyed in an instant. And across the battlefield, millions of Vorn ships suddenly stopped moving. They drifted silently, their connection to the hive mind severed forever. The swarm was dead. On every ship in the Union fleet, beings of 100 different species watched in stunned disbelief. They had been prepared to run. They had accepted that Harmony 7 would fall. Just like every other world, the Vorn had touched Dot instead. They witnessed a miracle. Ambassador Vel stood on the observation deck, tears streaming down his face. He had seen the human fleet charge into impossible odds. He had watched them sacrifice themselves again and again. And he had heard Captain Park's final words, "We fight for you." 3 months later, a Union rescue team found something impossible. In the debris field of the destroyed command organism, floating in a tiny pocket of atmosphere created by her suit's failing systems, Captain Una Park was still alive. She was barely conscious. Her body was broken in a dozen places. She had survived on recycled air and melted frost for weeks. Any other species would have died in the first hour, but she was human. When they brought her back to Harmony 7, the celebration was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Every species in the Union sent representatives. Even Warlord Keth came, kneeling before her bed and swearing eternal alliance with humanity. "How did you survive?" the doctors asked her. Una smiled weakly. "I did not know I was supposed to die." Statues were erected on 100 worlds. Songs were composed in every language. The story of the Battle of Harmony 7 spread to every corner of the galaxy, and a new proverb began to circulate among the Union species. Parents told it to their children. Teachers taught it in schools. Warriors whispered it before battle. When the universe creates something that cannot survive, it creates a human instead. Ambassador Vel visited Una one evening, long after she had recovered. They sat together, watching the stars through her hospital window. "I used to think your species was dangerous," Vel said quietly. "I was right. You are the most dangerous beings I have ever encountered." Una looked at him. "But now I understand why," Vel continued. "You are dangerous because you care too much. You feel too deeply. You love so strongly that you would burn the galaxy to protect the ones you love." He smiled. "And somehow, you have decided to love us too." Una reached over and took his hand. "That is what humans do," she said. "We find family in the strangest places." They sat together in comfortable silence, two beings from different worlds, watching the stars that no longer seemed quite so dark. The monsters had come from Earth, and the galaxy was better for it.